Hello, in this verse we look at Bhagavad Gita Chapter 2, verse 10. Tam uvacha Hrishikeshah prahasanniva bharata senayor madhye vishidantam idam vachaha. Now call up the text. Evam uktva Hrishikesham. Sorry, I've just doing the last one by mistake. Here we are. Here we are. Tamuvacha Hrishikesha Prahasanniva Bharata Senayor Madhye Vishidantam Idam Vachaha. So, enlarge the text a bit. Hrishikesha, nominative, so that's the subject of the sentence. Tam uvacha, said to him. Incidentally, uvacha, let me just get bring the iPad up for you. There we are. Uvacha said, we just looked at babhuva. We've got the root bhu. And third person singular, perfect babhuva, which if it were regular, which it's not, it would have been babhava. That is irregular, and I explain the irregularity and where to find a note about it in Macdonnell in the previous verse. With vach, we have it's also a third person singular, reduplicated. Perfect. So vach, I will learn vach to speak, and it makes the reduplicated perfect in theory in the same way, but then it has the principle of samprasarana applies. So if it were regular, we'd have a reduplication of the first syllable, va, or the first part of the first syllable, and then we would have with vriddhi, it would be vavacha. That's what it would be. However, because of the principle of samprasarana, in Vedic, the stress or the height in the udatta was on this syllable, vavacha. So that had the effect of softening the previous syllable from va to u, and that is what gives us uvacha. You can see how it happens. Vavacha, va softens to u, uvacha. The same phenomenon we see happening in the root vach plus ta or toi. So what would normally happen, we would have these are intermediate forms. I'm writing with the asterisk to show that they don't in fact exist, but they show how this form emerges. You would have, say, vach plus toi, having said, step one. Now, rule of sandhi, you cannot have a ch before a t. It will mutate by sandhi to a k. That's why you get vak toi. Sorry, vak toi. Silly me. There we are, but that's a K. And here as well, the same sandhi samprasarana applies to the va of what would be vaktva becomes an u, and that's how we get the correct form uktva. And that is the form that we see in this verse, and in the previous one, eva muktva, thus having spoken, thus having said. So we've got these two perfects we've just been looking at. Babhuva, he was or he became, and this uvacha, said. So tam uvacha, and again, just as I mentioned before, this is a verb that takes, in English we say saying or speaking to somebody. In Sanskrit, you don't use a dative, you use the accusative. So tam uvacha. To him said Hrishikeshaha, that's Krishna, prahasandeva Bharata. Bharata is evocative, and remember, this is the Bhagavad Gita being narrated to a listener, and that's why the evocative is being used here. So the Bharata has nothing to do with the story. The vocative is just thrown in because the narrator of the story is narrating it to Bharata. So he occasionally throws in his name and or various others of his epithets in the vocative. That's how that's explains the vocative here. So prahasan iva, as if smiling, or even it could be translated, interpreted as if laughing at him. But I think it's with this as if smile. It seems like the gentle smile of the superior who knows what's going on, but knows that this unfortunate junior is trying his best but in great difficulty. So it's a kind of wise and sympathetic smile. I know you're going through it. I'm smiling. I'm going to explain now. It will be all right. So it's like a benign smile. Of course, it's not mockery. So prahasanniva. Turn up iPad again. Here we are. It's from our root. Has means to laugh. You have it in modern Hindi as well, but with the nasalized sound. So has. So modern Hindi to laugh is hasna, to laugh. But it's from that Sanskrit root has. It's a regular parasmaipada class 1 verb, so he is hasati. The present participle stem form is hasant, and therefore the nominative singular is Hasan. And here we've got the prefix prahasan. Probably doesn't add much to the meaning here. As you know, occasionally, very often, usually the prefixes add a lot of important meaning. Sometimes they don't add much. So prahasan, as if laughing. I put here as if laughing or mocking. Maybe it was a play mocking. Interpret it as you will. In fact, I've seen different translators, very respectable and learned Hindu translators of the Bhagavad Gita, some interpreting it one way, others the other way. There's a legitimate scope for difference here. So here we have a word ending in n, preceded by a short vowel, the a, prahasan. On its own, it's as it is, prahasan. Now, the rule of Sandhi is where you have a word ending in an n, preceded by a short vowel, and followed by a word beginning with a vowel, prahasan iva, by rule of Sandhi, that n doubles. So it always becomes prahasan niva. That's only if it's a short vowel. If it was a prahasaniva, that would remain, or prahasuniva. Those words don't exist. As an example, tan eva. You wouldn't double the n there because it preceded by a long vowel. Just short vowel, single n, followed by a new word beginning with a vowel. It doubles. That accounts for the prahasaniva. Senayorubhayor madhye. In the middle of the madhya. It's the word that we find in. Sorry, give me the text again. It's the word that we find in Pali as madhya. And it makes an adjective in Sanskrit, madhyama, which is the same madhya. Oopsie. I haven't given a note on it. Madhya as a noun means the middle of something, and you make an adjective of it by adding a ma, so madhyama, and that's what gives us in Pali the majjhima. So madhyama, the central one, the one in the middle, adjective. In Pali, majjhima, and that gives us Majjhima Nikaya, for example, the middle, the medium or middle sayings, meaning the middle length sayings, not the short suttas or the long ones, it's the medium length ones. Here it's used as a noun, and it's a noun in the locative, madhye, in the middle or in between two things. And we now have in between the two armies. So the chariot driven by Krishna and with Arjuna riding as the warrior on it. They are now in between the two armies. And here we have Sena is a feminine noun meaning army, and this is the genitive, the dual form genitive. So Sena, Senayo, and we have Ubhaya, Ubhayoho. Also, Ubhaya on itself means both, and therefore is inherently dual, but it's declined here as a dual. So Senayor Ubhayor Madhye, in between both armies. The Sandhi, without Sandhi, um, I'm going to correct this. I forgot to take the Sandhi out here. So without the Sandhi, it's Senayo Ubhayo. We are Madhye. But following the usual Asante rule, the o with visarga followed by a vowel, senayo, rubbayo, equally visarga, o, visarga followed by a voiced consonant, also or, that's what gives us senayo, rubbayor, madhye. Let's see, take out the Santi, pronounce the words in isolation, senayo, ubhayo, with Santi Senayor Ubhayor Madhye. Vishidantam. So we've got Prahasan. So I'm going to take out that N you see where I've highlighted, taking that second N because that's inserted by Santi with this verb, this word rather, participle without Santi with a single N. This is the nominative form, Prahasan, and this is the accusative form. If this were nominative, it would be vishidan, literally sitting apart. I've explained this, that sitting apart means despairing, falling, collapsing, falling apart. This root sad, sidati, a little bit irregular. The root form is sad, but the present tense is not sadati, but sidati, which gives us vishidantam, not vishadantam. So vishidan would be is the not what is vishidan is the nominative form, but here we've got the accusative form vishidantam, and it's the accusative because it is speaking to him. Tam uvacha, to him he said. Tam vishidantam uvacha, to him despairing, to him who was despairing, he said, to him the despairing, he said. So just note there that Vishidantam agrees with tam. They're both the combined object. Tam Vishidantam uvacha could equally have been put. Tam Vishidantam uvacha, to him just the despairing uvacha, he said. He said what? Idam so tamuvacha idam vacha. He spoke this speech. I'll bring back iPad again. Okay, so we've just been looking at this root vach. Several verbal nouns are made in Sanskrit by adding as to the root. And this is an as that's not visarga, but this is the as which is part of the stem. So, for example, the instrumental would be vachasa, and the locative would be vachasi. We see it, for example, in roots like nam to. The original meaning of nam is just to bend, and then by extension it means to bow. And that's where we get the word namas, as in namaste, literally a bowing, but the extension, a reverence to thee, namaste. So namas. And that's what always becomes in Pali is namo, namo tassa bhagavato. And another root that gives us exactly the same phenomenon is vachas. Note that the great majority of these nouns that have their ending in a consonant stem as are neuter, and that includes vachas, and that is why we have the neuter form idam vachaha. Actually, this ought to have been anuswara. There we are. So, uvacha idam vachaha. He spoke this speech, tam vishidantam, to the despairing him, senayor bhayor madhye, in between the two armies, prahasannava, as if, is it as if smiling, as if mocking him? As I said, we can interpret that either way. We can interpret it perfectly respectfully either way. So let's go through this now quickly once again. Tam uvacha, to him he said. Who said? Hrishikesha. Prahasaniva. Iva means as if mocking / smiling. Bharata, Ubharata. Madhye, in between. Senayor, Ubhayor, Madhye, in between both armies. Vishidantam, despairing. That's tam vishidantam uvacha. To him the despairing he said what? Idam vachaha. This speech. He said these words. And the words that he said are the ones now that follow in the next verse. So I'll read it through again. Tamuvacha Hrishikesha Prahasanniva Bharata Senayorubhayormadhye Vishidantamidam Vachaha. And one final time. Tamuvacha Hrishikesha Prahasanniva Bharata Senayorubhayormadhye Vishidantam idam vacha. And that's it on this video.